In interview with Ammonnews, Prime Minister Dr. Bisher Al-Khasawneh talks about a number of issues and challenges. The dialogue was run by Mr. Samir Al-Hiyari. Your Excellency, it is understood from your speech that it was not a goodbye speech, and the mission has not finished yet. However, going back to what you have previously stated and to the letter of designation, it seems that you have accomplished the mission. Yet, there are other missions that are concerned with administration, which the government did not address. Some believe that it is not adequate to form a committee, as previous governments formed dozens of committees to address the issue of administration in the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. What have you achieved in this regard, and what are the necessary steps to address this challenge? I stress again that it was not a goodbye speech. You know me very well. You are dealing with a person who genuinely believes that he will continue as a fighter until His Majesty the King decides that the current situation and reality have to change. Therefore, we will continue serving as if the mission will continue forever. The principle is that the mission will continue forever with the same enthusiasm. We operate within the context of a government of missions that addresses existing challenges, such as the challenges related to the epidemiological situation at its peak and other challenges related to constitutional entitlement, which are governed by specific dates and presenting the general budget. These missions were accomplished, but there are other missions which have recently emerged, such as reaching a safe summer, returning to in-class learning, and fully reopening all sectors. And the missions are still ongoing. This is represented by Jordan's Economic Priorities Program, which will continue until 2025. In this program, the government tries its best not to make false promises that are not based on financial allocations. Therefore, the government was very keen to make sure that Jordan's Economic Priorities Program has dedicated financial allocations within the Ministry of Finance or from grants and loans. All these are clear and can be translated into reality. The main philosophy of the government's efforts in this regard is to dedicate financial allocations to Jordan's Economic Priorities Program in the general budget and national treasury of Jordan. This methodology, which we adopt, is productive and is supported by executive mechanisms, tools, and steps. I stress again, we will adopt this methodology as if we will remain forever, until His Majesty decides otherwise. We are always obliged to accept this order. The Cabinet and I are honored to serve in this government until His Majesty decides otherwise. As for service, we believe in sustainability and adopt a program that we hope it will achieve the aspiration of the country's leader. And facilitate services to our people and develop our country, which passed its centennial with several achievements. This journey included some mistakes, which we seek and hope to address in Jordan's second centennial. We belong to a strong and beloved country. Many doubted that we could move forward as a country and regime, but it was proved to many that we still exist and remain solid. Unlike them, unfortunately, we pray to God to grant them peace and recovery, and, God willing, our sons and grandsons will celebrate Jordan's third, fourth, fifth centennial of this beloved and strong country, and its noble rule, which represents all human supreme values. It is also keen on serving the people's interests, which represents a national and humanitarian vision that could be extended beyond the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. Dr. Bisher, if it is decided for this government to stay longer than necessary, will you make a new cabinet reshuffle? First, I cannot answer this question. If it is decided for the government to continue, any cabinet reshuffle is bound to necessities. In my opinion, any prime minister should not make cabinet reshuffle. There are no necessities that would force me to make such thing. Thank God, I have a harmonious cabinet, which works eagerly and tirelessly, so there is no need to make any reshuffles. It is said that you expressed once to His Majesty the King that you no longer wish to continue as a prime minister. Never. Never. I am not that kind of person who allows himself to submit such requests to His Majesty the King. It is my honor to continue serving until His Majesty the King decides otherwise. Former media minister said that Jordan is being targeted by foreign entities, especially electronic files. Is this true? Definitely. Jordan is certainly being targeted. Is there an estimate number of these fake accounts? There were nearly 120,000 fake accounts from countries in the region which negatively targets Jordan. Arab countries? Countries in the region. How would you describe the relation between Jordan and Gulf countries? Excellent. How about Saudi Arabia, for example? The relation between Jordan and all brotherly countries in the Gulf area and all Arab countries is a distinguished relation. It is based on the principle that we do not interfere in internal affairs of brotherly and friendly countries based on our belief in international law, which governs the relations between countries. This has always been our methodology and principle. As much as we adhere to this principle, we at the same time do not accept for anyone to interfere in our internal affairs. How would you describe the relation between Jordan and United Arab Emirates? Extraordinary. And you know that His Majesty King Abdullah has distinguished relations with the leaders in UAE. And the two countries have also extraordinary relations on the governmental level. And the same thing applies on all brothers in the Gulf area and whole Arab world. During informal meetings between me and Your Excellency, you always talked about His Royal Highness, Crown Prince, with passion and positivity. There are sides of the personality of His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince, which most people and media do not know about. I would like you to talk about this, especially that His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince, always follows the important issues which concern the government. His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince, utterly respects the role of the Constitution, and he follows many details. He always inquires about the many amendments which occur. He actually has the ability and motivation to follow several issues and presents adequate comments about many issues and challenges. Moreover, he repeatedly asks for updates on the things which he has previously followed, and if there are any achievements. He is a disciplined and hard-working person, exactly like His Majesty King Abdullah. He has the energy and desire to follow all the essential issues that are important to Jordan. Your Excellency, Syria. You closely interacted with them, and then kept a distance repeatedly. And now we are interacting with them again. What protects us from Caesar Act in the future if some acts violate the law? Our interaction with our brothers in Syria has always been a positive one. We have never interfered in Syria's internal affairs. We have always called for adopting methods which would restore the situation in Syria. This will restore peace, safety, and stability, and uproot terrorism, which threatens Syria and its people, as well as other neighboring countries. Based on that, there is always a close security and military coordination between us and Syria, as we have a common border which extends nearly 370 kilometers in length. There are many activities that take place at the border which threaten the security of both countries. In addition to firearms, drug smuggling, and the movement of some terrorists and militias, we work hard to help Syria achieve stability, and we hope the political dialogue would restore order. Several meetings have been held between Jordanian ministers and... Are there any communications between Your Excellency and the Syrian Prime Minister? We exchanged letters through a group of ministers who visited Jordan and through some Jordanian ministers who visited Syria. Are there any phone calls? No, there are no phone calls. And you have not visited Syria secretly? I did not visit Syria. No, I did not visit Syria. And if I visited Syria, it wouldn't be a secret at all. We would have announced it just like the announcement of the Syrian officials who visited Jordan and the Jordanian officials who visited Syria. Is there a Jordanian special envoy to the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad? I have no information about this matter, and I don't think there is a Jordanian envoy to the Syrian president. We are not afraid to publicly announce that, if this is the case. Regarding the relation between Jordan and Israel, the Israeli Defense Minister recently visited Jordan and met with His Majesty King Abdullah. What is the purpose of this meeting? The official news mentioned a protocol visit only. Is there anything else you would like to add? No, but I would like to say that there is a peace agreement between Jordan and Israel, which was endorsed by Jordan Lower House as a law. There is a Jordanian embassy in Israel and an Israeli embassy in Amman. This is the reality today, which is part of the framework of international affairs system. We always develop this relation in a way that serves our interests and the interests of our central causes, including the Palestinian cause. We also strive to maintain the historical situation in the Al-Aqsa Holy Mosque, Al-Haram al-Sharif, and work hard to reproduce political dialogue, which would ultimately lead to the two-state solution. This will result in the recognition of the Palestinian state with full sovereignty on the 1967 lines and East Jerusalem as its capital. This would also take into account the Jordanian vital interests, which are related, the issue of refugees, and maintaining the current historical situation in the Al-Aqsa Holy Mosque, Al-Haram al-Sharif. His Majesty King Abdullah continues to hold the Hashemite custodianship of Al-Aqsa Holy Mosque and Jerusalem holy sites. The relation between Jordan and Palestine is good. The relation between Jordan and Palestine is always excellent, and we support the aspirations of the Palestinian brothers. With regard to the relation between Jordan and Israel, we seek and strive to achieve many interests. We have a peace agreement between us and Israel, and we hope that peace will be maintained within the framework of the two-state solution. And thus, as I mentioned earlier, the Palestinians would have the chance to achieve their legitimate aspiration to have an independent state. There are issues and challenges which the government has to deal with, including the teachers' syndicate. What is your stand on that? How will the government solve this crisis? This file is now being dealt with before courts. Courts will decide the outcome. The government returned some of the teachers who were disposed and some individuals whose requirements have been affected due to ending their services. As for the file of teachers' syndicate, it is being dealt with before courts. The current government or any other government cannot interfere, so this file is being dealt with before courts.